Buddy? Hi. Okay, so today's daf is daf Samach Dalet. And okay, today's daf is daf Samach Dalet. And we are on the discussion over here of Meredis. Meredis means she doesn't want to have any relations with her husband. And that's the topic of the Mishnah. If a woman does that, if a woman says that I don't want to have any relations with my husband, they deduct from her ksuba, right? We learned that in the Mishnah. They also, possible if he says, I don't want to be with my wife. I don't want to, he doesn't want to have relations with his wife. So then they add to the ksuba as a punishment. He's a moirid, okay? A moirid is somebody who's rebellious. So we're starting Samach Dalet Amar Aleph, 1, 2, 3, 7 lines from the top.
Oh,
yeah.
Darum geht, no?
And no, nicht mevart a bissel. Afshe wird sich umkommen. The Weile, they're going to add to the ksiba or deduct from the ksiba. Omer Rav Tuvi Kis no Shmuel. Rav said the name of Rav Shmuel. That means Koisvin Igeres Mered al Arusa, which means that let's say you're engaged to a lady, and the husband is Mechayiv Ksuba. Now they're waiting to get married. They're waiting to go to the wedding. And she says she doesn't want to come. So basically, she's a merid. She's rebellious because she's not wanting to have relations with her. She doesn't want to go to the wedding day. So then they write a letter of merid. The Bezdin writes that she is a meredes, and therefore they start deducting from her kesuba. Says Shmuel, that's only by an arusa. The Ein Koisvin Igeres Mered, you don't write an Igeres Mered al Shmeres Yavam. On a woman that, let's say she fell to Yibam, and she doesn't want to do Yibam. Let's say the guy says, okay, let's do Yibam, and she says, I'm not ready, I'm not coming. So then you don't say that she's a rebellious woman and she does not lose her kesuba, right? We don't deduct from her kesuba. So the Gemara asks, Meisvei, I have a question of a brisa against Shmuel. The brisa says, as examples of women who could be married, is achas liarusa benusua, afila nida, afila choila, vafila shemeres yavam. Whether the woman is an arusa or married, or nida woman, a choila, shemeres yavam, any one of these women that refuse the advances of her husband, and either they refuse to go to the wedding day or they refuse yibam, they are considered a moirid. So how did Shmuel said the Ein Koisvin Geras Mered al Shemeres Yavam? On a Yavam, you don't write. She's not. Here the Brisa says that a Yavam, a Shemeres Yavam, could be a Mered. And for the Gemara, like Kasha, it's not difficult. Kan Shetavahu. The Brisa that says that she could be a Moirid is that the man was asking her to do Yibam. Kan, but what Shmuel was talking about, Shetavahi, the opposite is happening. That she was asking him to get married. In other words, he was a Yavam, and she says, I'm waiting to get for the Yibam, for you to do Yibam on me. In that case, because she's the one that's asking, now why would she ask that to get married? She has no chiyuv of prurubu. Remember, a woman has no mitzvah of prurubu, only the man. So therefore, if the man refuses to her advances, then you don't deduct, you don't add to the ksuba, because he's not considered a moirid. If the man says to the Yabama, I want to marry you, I want to miyabim you, and she refuses him, niskakenloi, we pay attention to him. I mean, he's in the right here because he's doing the right thing. She's being the meredis, the rebellious one. But if she wants to do the yibam, ain niskakenloi, we don't pay attention to her. Why? Even though she really wants to, she doesn't want to be in limbo, but still she has no chiyuv to have to get married. So therefore, he is not considered to somebody who's rebellious against her. So the Gemara says, first of all, that makes no sense. What did you tell me about Shmuel? What Shmuel talking about? B'shatavahi, when she made the advance, and she is the one that wants to. She wants to have to do the yibam. So then what's the first case of Shmuel? That means Shmuel must be talking about she's the one that's requesting, right? So why does Shmuel say Koisvin Igeres Mered al Rusa? That if she's asking for the wedding date and he's refusing, he gets punished. And you write that he's a Mered. Why is that different when a Shemeres Yavam requests that and you don't consider him a Mered? That's the question. First of all, the Gemara says, the Gemara just doesn't understand the language. First of all, the Gemara says, that she's the one that's requesting. Hi, Koisvin Igered Mered al Arusa. Is that the right language to use? That you write that the rebellious letter on the Arusa, on her, Le Arusa, on her behalf, Miboyale. You're writing it on her behalf, that he is the one that's the refuser, that rebellious one. Kasha, that's not difficult. Tni le arusa. Read Shmuel's word, Koisvin Igeres Mered le arusa. If she's requesting and he's a refusal, then you write the Igeres Mered on his behalf, on her behalf against him. So the Gemara says like this. This is the question. So the Gemara asks the question: My shana, why is it any different? The Shemeres Yavam Deloy. If she's requesting for him to do Yibam, you don't consider him to be a Morid, a rebellious person. Why? We tell her, Zil, go away, loy mi pekad. You're not commanded to do pru-rabu. You're not commanded to have children. So if he's not coming to do Yibam, he's not doing such a big avera because you don't have a mitzvah over here. So the Gemara says, then in that case, Arusa nami nemulo zil lo mi pekad. By an Arusa also, let us tell her to go, that you're requesting for the wedding day. Go. You're not commanded in Puravu. So why is he considered to be a rebellious person if he doesn't want to go to the wedding? The reason why he considered a woman, him a rebellious person, because he doesn't want to come to the wedding, is because Bebo'a Machmas Tana, because she says she has a complaint against him. The Amra, she says, I want to get to the wedding day, not because I want to have the mitzvah of having children, but for another reason. The Amra, she could say, I want to have children, I want to have a walking stick for my hand, and a shovel for my burial. In other words, I need children to carry me in my old age, not because of the mitzvah pruruvu. And by the way, here is a Daf Yomi coincidence. Chutra liyada. The woman is saying she needs a cane for her hand, which is the queen was carrying a cane. So chutra liyada, she needs a stick for her hand. So that's why she's requesting to have children. So hachanami. So why don't you say the same thing? Says the Gemara, Shemeres Yavam, that if she's requesting for the Yibam, he should be could be considered to be a rebellious person by not being meyabim her. Because she has complaints against him. She wants the Yibam to take place so she can have children and to take care of her when she's an old lady. Ella, says the Gemara. So we're back to the question. The question is, the beginning question, why does Shmuel say that if Shemeres Yavam, you don't write that if someone refuses to do Yibam, you don't write that he's rebellious. And by here, the Brisa says you do write that she's rebellious, if she doesn't want to do the Yibam. So the Gemara goes back to the original thing. Ela idi v'idi shetavahu. He is, both cases, Shmuel's case and the Brisa's case, is talking about when he's asking her to do Yibam. So when he's asking her to do Yibam and she's not coming to the table, so the Brisa says she's a Moirid and Shmuel says she's not. V'loi kasha, it's not difficult. Kan lachaloitz. When the mitzvah, we learned in Masechta Yavamas that really the mitzvah is not to do Yibam. And therefore, the mitzvah is to do Chalitza, because we don't have L'Shem Shemayim. So you could say like this, that he was Taveya, he asked to do Yibam, and he didn't ask to do Yibam. In the Brisa, he was asking to do Chalitza. So he made a legitimate request. Let's do Chalitza. She refuses to come to the table, or she says she wants to do Yibam. So in that case, the Brisa rightfully calls her a Meredes, because she's in the wrong over here. The Khan, when Shmuel is saying that she's not a Moirid, is when he's asking her liyabein to do yibam, and she's saying, I don't want to do yibam, or I want to do chalitza, or she's not even coming to the table. The Amar Rab Yochanan, Rab Padas said in the name of Rab Yochanan, Tava lachaloitz, if he's requesting from her chalitza, niskak, then he's in the right, and she's in the wrong if she refuses, and she's called a morid. Tava liyabein, but if you're asking for yibam, which is not the right thing, because we don't do yibam, so ein niskak, and she refuses the yibam, ein niskak loy, we don't pay attention to him, he's not in the right, and therefore she's not considered a meredes. So the Gemara says, what's wrong if she doesn't come to the table? My shano, why do you say liyabim dolai? That he's requesting, let's do yibam, and she says, no, I don't want to come to the table. I want to do chalitza. I'm not coming to the table. I'm not even coming to Bezdin. So he says to her, "You're not. We don't consider her. We don't consider her a merid. Why? The amrina lay, because we will tell him. Forget about her. If she doesn't come to the table, big deal. Zil Musayv, it's Zachrita. We'll go marry somebody else. Don't do yibam with this lady. Okay, fine. Go marry somebody else." So the question is, lachalaitz name, by if he's requesting from her to do chalitza, why is she considered a meredis by not showing up to the bezdin for the chalitza? Namely, so what if she doesn't show up to the chalitza? Zil Musayv, it's Zachrita. Go marry another wife. So what's the problem? I mean, so if she doesn't show up, why is she a meredis? She can always has the option to marry somebody else. Ella says to Gemara, it's not always an option to marry somebody else, because nobody's going to want to marry him. Because if he's supposed to do a chalitza to somebody and she's not coming to the table, he can't marry somebody else. Why? The Amar, because he says, Kivin the Agidabe, since I'm bonded to this woman, nobody's going to give me somebody else to marry. Even in those times where it was permitted to marry two women, it wasn't common. So therefore, he wants to get rid of this situation. So therefore, we consider to her to be a moirid if she doesn't show up to the table, if he's requesting for chalitza. But hachanami, so why don't you say the same thing? Kivan the agida be, since they are connected, he's requesting yibam, even though he's not supposed to request yibam. But if she's not showing up to the table, let her be considered a moirid, because a meredes, because lo yahav leichrita, she's holding him up by not giving him the opportunity to marry somebody else. He's just not marketable. So again, the question is, bottom line. The bottom line question is, why does Shmuel say a shemeres yavam who refuses to come to the table is not considered a meredes? And the Bryce considers it to be a meredes. So the Gemara says, Eli idi v'idi shetava aliyabim. He's requesting to do yibam, okay? But like Kasha, it's not difficult. The Mishnah, the Bryce that says that she's a meredes, kan k'mishnah rishayna. That Bryce goes according to the Mishnah rishayna. The way it was in earlier time, ancient times, they requested you, like the Torah says, do yibam, because that was really the mitzvah. And if she refuses the yibam, she's a meredes. And if she doesn't show up to the table, but what Shmuel is talking about is bizman hazeh, which is when chalitza takes precedence. And if he's asking for yibam and she doesn't want to do yibam, she's in the right and she's not considered a meredis, k'mishnah achrayna, like the later Mishnayos. The Tanakh we learned in the Mishnah. Mitzvahs yibam kedemes lemitzvah chalitza. Really, mitzvahs yibam takes precedence over the mitzvah of chalitza. That's the way it was. Marry your brother's wife. But in earlier times, Shayu Miskavanim L'Shem Mitzvah, they had only L'Shem Shemaim. It's not like he was infatuated by his brother's wife, or he had any lust towards his brother's wife. He really meant that L'Shem Mitzvah, they allowed Yibam. But Achshav, therefore, She'ein Miskavanim Mitzvah, B'zman Hazeh, we don't have Kavanah L'Shem Mitzvah. Amru, we say, Mitzvahs Chalitza Kedemes L'Mitzvahs Yibam. The Mitzvahs Chalitza takes precedence over the Mitzvah of Yibam, and therefore, in Shmuel's scenario, if he's asking for yibam and she says, no, I'm not coming to the table, you're asking me for yibam, I'm not showing up, or she says, I want chalitza, Shmuel would not consider her to be a meredes, because she's now in the right, because really we don't do yibam b'zman hazeh. The brisa that says she would be a meredes was talking about in earlier times where he's in the right. If he's asking for yibam, she has to show up, so therefore she would be considered a meredes. Okay, new Gemara. We just going back to the Mishnah. Just the Mishnah says, let's say a guy doesn't want to have relations with his wife, right? She doesn't want to have relations with him. So the Mishnah says you give Shiva dinarim b'Shabbos. Every week she refuses to have relations with him. You deduct 7 dinners for Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says you deduct 7 trepikin. Trepikin is less than 7 dinar. Okay, and then the Mishnah says, v'chein hamoirid, the opposite case. If he refuses to have relations with her, then you add 3 dinarim b'Shabbos, 3 dinners a week, which comes out a half a dinner a day. A half a dinner a day for 6 days a week, excluding Shabbos. So if he refuses to coming to the table, we increase her ksuba 3 dinarim a week. Rabbi Yehuda Omer shloisha trepakim, 3 tepaikim. 3 tepaikim. But that's it. 3 half a dinner. So let's see what the Gemara discusses over here. You right away see the difference when you're charging her for not having relations with him. She pays for Shabbos. For example, if she's refusing to have relations with him, so every day she loses a dinner, even on Shabbos. When he refuses to have relations with her, you only charge him a half a dinner every day. So first of all, you're charging him less, and he doesn't pay for Shabbos. So that's basically what the Gemara is now going to discuss. So the Gemara asks, first of all, what is this coin called trepi'ikin? It's not common, found in the Mishnayos. Amrasheshis astera. It's a sela medina. Chama astera, halga d'zuza, half a zuza, which is a half a zuza, which is about 3 ma. The Tanya we learned in the Tanya Namihachi, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says shloisha trepi'ikin. So 3 tepi'ikin. Each pe'ikin has 3 ma. So shehein toishim ma'ar. So each trepik has 3 ma. So it's basically 9 ma'in a week. The way that the Gemara just made it into more common currency, Rabbi Yehuda's statement. But basically, Rabbi Yehuda is saying, ma'ar v'chatzi l'chol yom. For every day you get 1.5. So over 6 days is 9 ma'in. Okay, fine. But here's the point. Amalei Rav Chiya bar Rav Yosef l'Shmuel, why is it when when she's rebelling against him, to Shabbos, she gets a fine even on Shabbos. She loses her ksuba even for the Shabbos day, a dinner a day, 7 dinner in a week. But when she's rebellious against him, so it's a half a dinner a day, and therefore 3 dinar a week, 6 days, 3 dinar in a week, half a dinner a day, but Shabbos is not counted. The law yavina lo the Shabbos. You don't give her the Shabbos. Answers the Gemara, it's very simple. When it comes to her, and she's being rebellious, what are we doing? The mitchas kapachas. We're deducting the eventual ksuba that he might owe her in case he dies. So it's a deduction. So it's not like he's working on Shabbos. So therefore, we deduct even for her rebellion on Shabbos day. But Ihu, when it comes to, he's the rebellious guy. So what are we doing? The oisifu kamaisva. We're adding to the ksuba. So we're adding to the ksuba. So if we're adding each day something, it makes nechse. We go to Amud Beis, a little rubbed out here, but Samach Dalet Amud Beis. Nechse kischa Shabbos. It looks like she's working on Shabbos. So therefore, because suppose, let's say, in the middle of the week, she says, he says, I'm not married anymore. So we stop in the middle of the week. It's not like you get 3 dinarim per week. It's not a weekly salary. It's a daily fine, which adds up to 3 dinar in a week, but it's a daily fine. So if the fine is per day and we're adding that to her ksuba, it looks like she's getting paid on Shabbos. Therefore, Shabbos we don't count, and we don't fine him for Shabbos for adding by adding to the ksuba. But when she rebelled, so then we're deducting from the ksuba that's eventually going to be owed to her. So it's basically he owes less. So it's not like he's earning something; he's just going to owe less. So therefore, we even count Shabbos. Now the Gemara asks, but again, when he rebels and doesn't want to do relations with her, we fine him half a dinar. When she rebels against him and she doesn't want to have relations with him, we find her a dinar. Why does she pay more? So my bein moired lemeredus. What's the difference between him rebelling and her rebelling? That's Rav Chia asked Rabbi Yosef to Shmuel. Amalei. So Shmuel answers a very interesting way to explain himself. Shmuel says, Seilamad, go out and learn. Mishuk shel Zionus. Go to the shuk of where the Zionists are, and and find out who's paying more. This Rav Chia Bar Yosef was so sheltered he didn't know. So Shmuel explained it to him. In a shuk shel Zionus, the man is paying a higher price for a Zionah than if it was the opposite case of a woman looking for a man. And therefore, it's more of a tsar for him when she refuses relations than it is a tsar for her when he refuses relations. Mi soicheres mi, who's hiring who? That's what you'll just observe in a shuk shel Zionus. Davar acha, another reason why a man has it harder than a woman, because when a man wants to do it and he can't, and she's refusing him, zeh yitzrim bebechutz. Rashi says, you see something in the dignity sticks out more and is more apparent on him than on her. Her desires on the inside, but him expresses on the outside. So he has like an erection. So because of that, he's more indignified when she refuses. That's why her punishment is more, and we find her a dinar. Whereas when he refuses her, we only find him a half a dinar. New Mishnah. Okay, the Mishnah is discussing like this. Hamashre es ishtoi al yedei sholish. So here's an interesting case. A man decides that he doesn't want to eat with his wife. He decides to say, you go to a third party's house, and I'm going to send food for you there. And for whatever reason, he likes to be alone the whole week. He wants to be alone. Okay. So the Mishnah discusses how much food you have to send your wife if she's not living in your house. Now, mind you, because she's not living in your house, she's not doing the wash, she's not doing the cooking and cleaning. So that's also, we'll see about that, what she owes him. But he's required to send her food. Now, it's interesting, in the Shulchan Aruch, is a man permitted to say to his wife, move out of the house, and I'll send you the food over there? According to the Mechaber, yes, he's permitted, and he doesn't need her permission. He doesn't need her permission. He could ask her to leave, go sleep there, I'll pay you all your expenses, we'll meet once a week. That's the Mechaber. Maybe he's Sephardic. But Ramah says if she doesn't agree, this arrangement is not allowed. But our Mishnah discusses when the arrangement was made. So Hamashre es ishtar yedei sholish. He's feeding his wife to a third party. Okay? So now she's living somewhere else. He's married to her and he owes her food. So and this is he's poor. So the Mishnah gives you, what does a person eat weekly? And this, you have to follow this guidelines. That's what the Mishnah is giving you, guidelines at the time of the Mishnah. You're not allowed to give her less than 2 calves of chitin. Kav is a measurement of wheat. That's about no less than 48 eggs a week. Or me'arba kavim so'irin. If you're going to give so'irin, barley, you have to give 4 kavim of bed. Okay, that's Amar Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, like pasuk so'irin, they didn't say that you have to give 4 kavim of so'irin, of barley, which is double the amount of wheat. Ela Rabbi Shmuel, according to Rabbi Shmuel, who was very near Rome, or therefore they had very poor barley. So in order to make barley bread, you need double the amount of wheat flour than you would have in barley flour in order to make the same amount that you eat weekly. So that's why they said 4 kavim so'irim. But in normal places, no, you can give 2 kavim so'irim as well. Shnei kavim chitin is wheat. Obviously, you're not eating raw wheat, but what she's going to do is grind it and make bread from it. And then you have to give her a half a kav of beans to smear the band, like hummus. The chatzi like shaman, and a half a log of oil for cooking and eating. The kav groigris, a kav of dried figs. It's interesting just to see what the diet is. So maybe you have to give a protein and carbohydrates, and a little bit of figs, dried figs. or mana devela, or pressed figs. The weight of a mana that is less than a kav. It's a coin, the weight of a coin of the devela of pressed figs, because when you press the figs into a round glob, you use much more expensive figs, so you give less figs. Then if you have no figs to give her, you give her fruits from another place. The Noisin law mita, and you give her a bed. Mapots, you have to give her let's say a mattress. Or machzeles, even a thick mattress. In case you don't have a thin mattress or a hard mattress, you give her a softer mattress or soft or hard mattress. That's what you have to provide for her. The Noisalah kippah l'rosha, you have to give a covering for her head. The chagar l'mosneha, and a belt for her waist to hold her clothing up. Umin olim, and shoes. Mimayid l'mayid. Every yomtiv, you have to buy her new shoes. The kalim means clothing. Shal chamishim zuz, you pay 50 zuz worth of clothing for her that you have to buy. Mishana l'shana, every single year you have to buy. You can't just wait for the sales. You have to pay chamishim zuz every year of clothing for her. The ein noistin law, says the Mishnah, interestingly, noistin law, you can't give her. What can you give her? Chadoshim l'mois b'mois achama, which means that you can't go in the summertime, let's say in August, and buy her new clothing, which is winter clothing. You're forcing her to wear the winter clothing in the summer. Well, by the time winter comes around, these clothing will be worn out, and she'll be freezing in the winter. So therefore, the ein nois l'chadoshim, don't buy her new clothing b'mois achama in the summer months, v'lo shchakim b'mois kshamim, and don't buy her old clothing from a vintage shop in the rainy months, because she's not going to feel warm with them. And even new clothing in the hot summer months is too much for her, because she'll sweat. You go shopping during the holiday season in the winter months, and you buy her one set of clothing, I don't know, whatever, 50 zuz worth of clothing. And she uses, as the clothing shrink and become thinner, she'll use it in the summer months where she doesn't need heat that much. And once they become worn out by next year, she gets to keep it. The Gemara is going to describe why not. Why isn't she required to give it back to him? Anyway, she keeps the old clothing. Then we learned Noisin lo mo kesef. He gives her a mo kesef, which means he has to give her extra spending money. A mo, whatever it is, $50, but a week. For her to do her nails, to buy things for herself, l'tzarka. Now, the reason why he has to give her extra spending money, because she's going to work extra for him, and she'll profit off her work. We'll see what that means. This arrangement works if you join her for the Shabbos meal Friday night, and you have relations with her Friday night. And we're talking about a Talmud Chacham. So therefore, he's, during the weekday, you can, have her in somewhere else, but you have to join her Friday night. If you're not going to give her that more kesef, that extra spending money, then what she does, whatever handiwork that she does, belongs to her. It doesn't mean whatever she does. It means if she does above and beyond what she's required to do, because masideha, whatever work she does, that obligates the husband to pay for food. But if she goes above and beyond that, then that's why he has to give her a more kesef, extra spending money. But if he doesn't give her the extra spending money, then the above and beyond belong to her. What does that mean? Mahi oisaloi. What kind of work does she do that he can make a profit off? Now, we're talking about a woman that's not busy raising kids. She's living by herself somewhere else. She's not cleaning, cooking, baking. So the answer is she's taking threads from wool and turning it into fiber. So mishkal chomesh shloim shesi b'yud. If she's making shesi threads, which are very thin threads, then she has to make a weight of 5 sela in Yehuda shein esasar megolim. That's the weight of 10 sela in Galil. There are two different currencies. Yehuda had a sela which was double the weight of Galil. If she has to make the weight wool, she has to turn fiber in the wool into fiber according to that weight. Now, that's if she's making chassis threads, very thin threads from this wool. Or mishkal esesloim erev. If she's making erev thread, which is the horizontal thread in the weaving machine, which is thicker, then she all has to make 10 sloim. She has to make double the amount of thread because it's much easier to make. Shem esrim sloim bagal, which is 20 sela in galil. Okay, so that's what she's required to make. And that thread that the guy turned from his wool into thread, she sells it and he makes a profit. If she made more than that, technically the husband could keep that and sell it, make that profit, but he has to give her the mar kesef. But if he doesn't give her mar kesef, the extra profit belongs to her. Now, let's say she's in this house and she's not doing anything, only just nursing her child. So then she doesn't have to spin threads anymore. She could do less because she's busy nursing her child. So the time that she's nursing her child, we don't require her to work on the threads. But because she's working, she's not working, you would think that you give less food. No, you have to give her more food because a nursing woman needs to eat more food than what was stated in the Mishnah. And the Mishnah qualifies, when will we talk about Ba'ani should be Yisrael? If we're talking about an ani, these according to this arrangement, according to these shiurim mentioned in the Mishnah, that's what you have to follow. But if he's a respectable person. So the Mishnah always use euphemisms like we use euphemisms. When we want to describe somebody rich, we describe him as balabatish. So the Mishnah describes a person as a rich person, mechubad. If he's rich, then he has to give her more food or more stuff according to his financial status, because she goes out with him. The only other question you have to deal with, what happens? He has zero money if he's flat broke. So according to Shulchan Aruch, if a guy's flat broke and can't come up, he's required to give her a divorce. So that's what or he convinces her he's flat broke. But what the Mishnah is talking about, an Ani should be Israel who's making a living but barely. Mani Misnisan. So we'll go quickly through this Mishnah, then we'll stop. Basically, the Mishnah says that a person eats how many kavim a week? 2 kavs of chitin a week. 2 kavs of chitin. What is 2 kavs of chitin? How many meals does a person eat a week? Well, you eat 2 meals a day in the time of Chazal. So 2 times 7 is 14. But on Shabbos, you eat an extra meal for Shalosh Shudas. And the Gemara understands that a woman is chayav in Shalosh Shudas. So she's supposed to get 15 meals out of this 2 chav of chitin. So what the Gemara is going to say, Mari Mesnisan, who is our Mishnah like? Who's our Mishnah like? Rabbi Yochanan ben Rekha, Rabbi Shimon. It doesn't go like Rabbi Yochanan ben Rekha, not Rabbi Shimon. Now we learned the Mishnah. How much shiur do you leave for a tchum Shabbos? We learned about we were supposed to leave the 2 meals by the tchum, so you leave the meal has to be 2 meals worth there, and it's the meal that you eat during the weekdays, not on Shabbos. Because Reb Meir holds you eat less on the weekday. You leave the 2 Shabbos meals there. Both are lenient. That's whatever the shear is of the 2 meals. You judge it by what you normally eat according to Rabbi Yehuda on Shabbos, or what you normally eat during the weekday. But 2 meals are weekday meals, or 2 meals are Shabbos meals. You have to leave at that tchum place. Now, here is where the key of the Gemara is. Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroika says, Kika halakurech bepinyan. If you can buy a loaf of bread with this punyan, which is 1/48 of a selah, the arba sign selah, and you can get 4 sign of chitim for a selah. So basically, what the Gemara is going to say is, according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroika, and this is where the question is, he holds 2 meals equal a half a kav. Rashi makes the cheshbon is a half a kav. 1 meal would be a quarter of a kav. So if you have 2 kavs, according to the cheshbon of this cheshbon, 2 kavs, the maximum meals you're going to get out of it is 8 meals, not 15 meals that our Mishnah is thinking. According to Rabbi Yochanan ben Beroika, you're going to get 8 meals out of this, out of 2 kavs. Rabbi Shimon gives you another case. Shtei yardas lakiko, mishalosh lakikos lakav, 2/3 of a loaf. If you get 3 loaves for a kav, chetzi lebesav nuga, chai ketzigat b'sal b'yev, chetzi ketzi kabel tumas oichem. These are peripheral halachas that you learn from shiurim of a loaf of bread. But the bottom line is, Rav Shimon seems to describe that 1/9 of a kav, 1/9 of a kav gets you 1/9 of a kav gets you one meal. So 2 kavs basically will get you 18 meals. So that's what the Gemara is saying. Our Mishnah says 2 kavs gets you 15 meals. So, and money, that's the question of the Gemara. And yeah, if you want to see the cheshbon, Rashi goes through the cheshbon. But money. But here's the point of the question. If our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yochanan Baroika, from 2 kavs, you're going to only get Tamani Habi. You're going to get 8 meals. The Rav Shimon, if our Mishnah goes according to Rav Shimon, he says people eat a lot less. So therefore, 2 kavs will get you Tamani Sari Havya. You're going to get 18 you're going to get 18 meals. Answers the Gemara, La'olam Rabbi Yochanan Baroika. Really, our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yochanan Baroika. The Kedama Rav Chizda say me am shlish lechenvini. Achaname I said tlisha shadei alayim. Rabbi Yochanan Baroika says you get 8 meals on calves. That's because you're giving off for broker fees. But if you paid wholesale on that, you would actually have a third more. So you would actually have 12 meals from 2 calves. So the Gemara says, okay, but 12 is not 15. Akati tarti sari haven. You're only getting 12, not 15. So the Gemara says, Oichelas imay leiv Shabbos. You lose a meal because she doesn't have to eat with him on Leil Shabbos. So she gains a meal. So the Gemara says, some say that he doesn't even have to show up for the Friday night meal. Some say when our Mishnah says he has to eat with her at Friday night, it means he has to sleep with her Friday night. But he can eat a Shabbos meal with his chaverim. So certainly he's not even bringing food on Friday night. And even if you want to say he's bringing food, so fine. So all she needs is 14 meals, but she only has now 13. But now she only has 13 meals, 12 from the 2 calves he gave her, plus he's bringing an extra calf for her to eat Friday night, but she's supposed to have 15 meals. She's missing. Rav Chizda said, actually, the broker fee is not it's not 50%, it's 100% markup, a broker. So really, from 2 calves, you get 16. So you're getting too much now. You add a half. So basically, according to Rabbi Yochanan Baroika, instead of 8 meals from 2 calves, you get 16 meals from 2 calves. So the Gemara says, first of all, Kash Rav Chizda. Chizda says sometimes a broker takes 100% markup and sometimes a broker takes 50% markup. So the Gemara says, like Kash Rav Chizda is not difficult. It depends. If you're providing the wood, then the broker takes less. But if you're providing no wood, then the broker takes 100% markup. Fine. So let's say she gets from 2 calves, wholesale price, no broker fee, she gets 16 meals. How much is she supposed to really eat? 15 meals. So why does he have to provide for 16 meals? Again, why does she need 15 meals? Because shalashudas, 2 for each day, 7 times 2 is 14, but Shabbos she asks to eat shalashudas. So she's supposed to eat 15. So why do you give her 2 calves, which is enough for 16 meals? She's getting an extra meal over here. So do you want to say our Mishnah goes command to Rabbi Chitka? This Rabbi Chitka, the Omar Abba Sudis Chayv Odom Lechem Shabbos. Would you say our Mishnah goes according to this outcast opinion that says on Shabbos you're supposed to have an extra meal? Not only you have to have shalosh shudas, according to Rabbi Chitka, you have to have 4 meals. So you have now perfect. Now she has 16 for the week. But we don't paskin like Rabbi Chitka. Can you imagine having 4 meals on Shabbos? And says the Gemara, Afilu Temer Rabban. Our Mishnah goes according to Rabbanan. Really, herself needs 15 meals. But Dal Chada, but she needs an extra one, La'orche Parche, because maybe she doesn't want to eat alone. So she's entitled to invite a guest, so she has to provide her with an extra meal. So that's why our Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Yochanan Baroika. So concludes the Gemara, if you want to say that, Afilu Temer Rab Shimon. Our Mishnah can go according to Rab Shimon, who holds with 2 kavim, you get 18 meals. If you're getting 18 meals, you're getting 3 more than what you need. The Rabbanim, according to Rabbanim, Dal Tlas L'Orchei Parche. So she has 3 extra meals. She only needs 15. So give her extra 3 for guests. The Rab Chitka, according to Rab Chitka, you're supposed to have 4 meals on Shabbos. So she's supposed to have 16 meals And Dal Tarte, she gets an extra 2 larche parche for guests. But bottom line is, you have to give her 2 kavim of chitin for weekly food. That's part of the week part of what you're required to give. Again, all this is if you're sending it to her through as a third party. She's not living at home. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we finished Daf Samach.